she answered a call at midnight and froze. When she heard the CEO say, "Are you alone?" Everyone told her to ignore the call. Midnight calls never bring anything good, they said. But when Evelyn answered, the voice on the other end, calm, familiar, and unmistakably his, asked just one thing, "Are you alone?" It was the CEO, the man she had sworn to stay away from. But what he confessed next didn't just change her night. It changed everything she thought she knew about trust, loyalty, and love. Before we continue, if you enjoy touching and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Now, let's get back to the story. "You're not seriously answering that, are you?" The words came sharp from her roommate, half asleep under a sea of cozy blankets. But Evelyn had already slipped off the couch and padded barefoot across the wooden floor of the tiny apartment. The screen still glowed. Unknown number. 12:04 a.m. She knew the voice before it even spoke. "Are you alone?" Her hand clenched the phone tighter. That voice, low, steady, but with a crack beneath it, sent something cold and electric through her ribs. "Adrian?" A pause, one that said more than any words. Adrian Hale, CEO of Hale & Wesson. Hale and her boss, the man she had spent 6 months avoiding in every hallway, meeting, and elevator ride. The man whose name had become a whisper behind doors, not just for his impossible standards, but for the rumor no one dared speak aloud around her. "I wouldn't be calling you at this hour if it wasn't important," he said finally, his voice taut. "But I need to tell you something, and I need to do it before tomorrow morning." She glanced at her thin gold bracelet, the one her late grandmother had given her, the one she twisted whenever she felt caught between sense and heart. "Tell me now," Evelyn said, her voice barely more than a breath. He exhaled, long, heavy, as if bracing to lose something. "The board's going to announce something tomorrow. They'll make it look like it's just about numbers. But they're setting you up, Evelyn. They're going to blame you for the leak." Her heart stopped. That leak, the one from last quarter that had wiped 10% off the company's stock value. "But that's not," she started. "I know it's not you, but they've been waiting to push someone out. You're the easy target, the quiet one, the outsider, the one without allies." Evelyn closed her eyes. Of course. No one from her side of town ever stayed long in a place like Hale & Wesson. They were tolerated, not welcomed. "I'm going to the press tomorrow morning," Adrian continued. "I'm taking the blame. I was the last to sign off on that email chain. I should have caught the risk." The breath caught in her throat. "You're going to destroy your name for this?" she whispered. "I'm not doing it for a name." Another pause. "I'm doing it for someone who deserved better than silence." 12 hours earlier, the boardroom had smelled like expensive coffee and discomfort. Evelyn sat 2 chairs from the end, silent, watching men in suits use phrases like damage control and optics, and expendable like they were discussing office supplies. She'd spent the last 3 months piecing together the Q3 financial slides with care so meticulous it had cost her weekends, birthdays, and the last traces of her social life. And yet, when the mistake had been discovered, a minor clause misinterpreted that led to an early product leak, no one looked at the CFO or the legal team. They'd all turned to her. Why? Because she wasn't one of them. The girl from West Dallow with the small apartment, the public transit card, and no Ivy League crest on her resume. She'd smiled politely, taken the corrections, but something inside her had stayed very, very still. And Adrian? He hadn't even looked at her. Back in the present, Evelyn curled her toes into the rug beneath her. Her roommate was now fully awake, staring at her with wide, confused eyes. "Is that him?" she mouthed. Evelyn nodded slowly. The world felt sideways. "I don't understand," she said into the phone. "Why now? Why tell me this at midnight? You barely speak to me in daylight." His voice dropped lower. "Because I didn't want this to happen. And because..." He hesitated, a breath, then another, as if he were standing at the edge of a cliff, trying to find the right moment to jump. Because I should have spoken up months ago. There was silence. Not the kind that sits awkwardly, but the kind that says we've arrived somewhere we didn't expect. Evelyn blinked, suddenly aware that she was still in her navy sweater, the one with the loose threads at the sleeve cuffs, and her old leggings from college. No makeup, hair messily tied back, and somehow it made the moment feel more real than anything else that had come before. "Where are you?" she asked. "Outside," he said. "Your street. I've been pacing for 20 minutes. Her knees almost gave out. "You're what?" "Look, I know this is completely inappropriate, and you have every right to slam the door in my face." But she was already walking, past her roommate's stunned face, through the narrow hallway down the stairs. When she opened the door, the cold air hit first, and then the sight of him. Adrian Hale, midnight, disheveled, tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled, and in his hand, of all things, a small, folded napkin. He held it out like it was something precious. "I didn't come empty-handed," he said softly. "I brought the cinnamon roll from Walter's, the last one. You always used to buy one on Wednesdays before that budget meeting." Her eyes fell on the napkin, faint grease stain, sugar crystals still clinging. He remembered? That small, sweet micro-victory broke something in her. She took the cinnamon roll with trembling fingers. They stood there in the quiet, streetlights glowing soft behind him. "You look exhausted," she said finally. "You look like you've been crying," he replied. Neither denied it. She broke the silence, biting gently into the roll, chewing slowly, not for the taste, but because it kept her grounded. He watched her like a man not sure he was allowed to breathe yet. "I thought you hated me," she whispered. He flinched. "No, I tried not to care. That was worse." Evelyn stepped back, feeling the warmth of the hallway behind her. "You're about to burn your entire career to protect mine. Why would you do that?" His answer came without hesitation. "Because the truth matters, and so do you." And just like that, something changed. She stepped aside. "You'd better come in before someone calls the cops." He didn't move at first. Then he followed her, quietly, into the light, and behind them, the door clicked shut. The soft click of the apartment door behind them echoed louder than expected, like a line had just been crossed. Evelyn stood by the kitchen counter, arms folded, cinnamon roll half-eaten on a napkin beside her. Adrian hovered awkwardly near the doorway, not quite sure if he was a guest or a criminal. She watched him with the kind of calm that came after too many long days and silent elevators. He looked taller under her kitchen light, paler too. That expensive shirt creased at the elbows, his jaw tight like he hadn't eaten. "Well?" she asked quietly. "Say what you came here to say." He looked around. The apartment was small, 2 rooms, pale walls, lived-in warmth. A chipped mug drying by the sink, an old family photo tucked into the corner of a corkboard. "Nice place," he murmured. "Adrian," she said, her tone clipped. "The truth." He met her eyes. "The leak wasn't just a mistake," he said. "It was engineered." Evelyn's arms dropped to her sides. "What do you mean?" He stepped forward, slowly, careful not to cross her invisible line. "Someone fed it through your chain on purpose. They knew it would route through your folder before going to exec review. It made it look like you sent it." "And who is someone?" He looked away. She laughed, a bitter sound. "Of course, you still won't say it." "Because if I name him without proof, I can't protect you," Adrian said. "I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to track the metadata from the send path. I've almost got enough to link it to Elliot." Evelyn's heart sank. Elliot Reed, VP of Strategy, tall, charming, with a smile so polished it felt rehearsed. He was one of the golden boys, the kind that always had a way out, always had someone else to blame. "He's on the board," she said quietly. "They won't believe you." "They will if I confess," Adrian replied. "If I say it came from me, they'll close the loop. No investigation, no blood. Just your head. He gave a tired smile. Wouldn't be the first time. They stood in silence, the cinnamon roll growing stale between them. I should have come to you sooner, he said. Back when the rumors started, when the whispers were going around about the pretty analyst from West Dallow who got too far too fast. Evelyn bristled. I heard it too, she said, but I thought maybe I didn't belong enough to be worth defending. Adrian's jaw tightened. That's not why I stayed quiet. Then why? He looked at her, truly looked at her. Because I knew if I got close, I wouldn't be able to stay away. Her breath caught, and I thought, maybe you deserved better than being some secret distraction for a man who's married to his job. Her face softened, but her voice remained steady. You're doing this to make peace with yourself, not for me. I'm doing this, he said, because you're the only person in that whole building who does the work without stabbing someone in the back. Because I should have shut it all down the second Elliot started circling. And because... He stopped. She waited, but he didn't finish the sentence. From the hallway, Evelyn's roommate popped her head out, hair a mess, face half curious, half suspicious. Hey, do I need to call someone? Or is this a forgive him moment? Evelyn managed a tight smile. We're fine, Lila. Adrian cleared his throat. I'll go. I just needed you to know what's coming tomorrow. Evelyn followed him to the door. Wait. He turned. She handed him the second half of the cinnamon roll, still warm from where her fingers had held it. You haven't eaten, and you look like a man who's been surviving on caffeine and guilt. He took it. Slowly. Their fingers brushed for a second. Just long enough to register something neither wanted to name yet. Thank you, he said softly. Don't thank me yet, she replied. If you're really going to the press tomorrow, I want to be there. He blinked. What? I'm not hiding anymore, she said. If they want a scapegoat, they'll have to look me in the eye. Adrian looked at her like she'd just surprised him, like something he thought fragile had revealed steel. And then he nodded. I'll call you in the morning. After he left, Evelyn sat at the kitchen table, staring at the gold bracelet on her wrist. A small, quiet thing. Her grandmother had always said, dignity is when you keep your truth even if no one listens. Tonight, someone had listened, and he had brought cinnamon. At exactly 7:45 that morning, Evelyn's phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. Check the company email, it's already started. She opened her inbox. At the top, a company-wide email from the Hale & Wesson board. Subject, confidential HR investigation, office of the CEO. Her stomach dropped. Evelyn sat frozen in her desk chair, the morning sunlight slicing across her screen like an accusation. Subject, confidential HR investigation, office of the CEO. Effective immediately, Mr. Adrian Hale has been placed on administrative leave pending internal review. She read it twice, 3 times. Her hands were cold. Her inbox was already filling with whispers disguised as check-ins. Slack messages pinged with fake concern. So sorry to hear about this. What a mess, huh? Didn't you work under Adrian directly? The digital world had erupted before 8 a.m., and it was clear what they wanted, someone to point to, someone easy. And Evelyn Marlowe, the girl from the wrong side of the skyline, had always been the convenient option. She closed her laptop slowly. Across the office, Elliot Reed leaned against the glass wall of his office, sipping from a mug that probably cost more than her rent. His sleeves rolled to the elbow, his tie loose. The picture of composed power. And when he looked at her, he smiled, a small knowing smirk. The kind that said, checkmate. Her stomach turned. By 10 a.m., the murmurs had become footsteps. 2 HR reps approached her desk like nurses walking into a hospice room. One held a file, the other forced a polite smile. Evelyn, do you mind stepping into conference room 3 for a quick conversation? She rose quietly. They didn't touch her, didn't scold, just led her down the hallway with soft voices and downward glances, as if pitying her. Inside the conference room, the lights felt too bright, the air too still. A cup of weak coffee had been placed on the table. She didn't touch it. The file opened. Words like protocol, reputation risk, and pending review floated in the air. "You're not being accused," said the woman from HR, "but we need your full cooperation." Evelyn leaned forward, her voice low but clear. "Then let's start with the email server logs. I'm sure IT has records of who accessed that folder on the day of the leak." Both HR reps blinked. Surprised. Yes, that's being processed." "Then I'd like to see the audit trail and the timestamps." The man beside her cleared his throat. "We're not authorized to share that at this stage, Evelyn." She gave a tight smile. "Then we're not having a conversation. We're having a performance." There was a pause. Then she rose. "If I'm not accused, I'm going back to my desk. Let me know when someone wants the truth instead of a headline." And she walked out. By noon, she had already packed her essentials in a small paper bag. Her bracelet slipped against her wrist as she slid her notebook inside. She didn't cry. But when she stepped into the hallway, she nearly dropped her bag. Someone had left something by her monitor. A coffee, not corporate, not from the office kitchen. Real, rich. From the local cafe 3 blocks down, the one she used to visit before those budget cuts meant skipping daily luxuries. And under the cup, a napkin, folded neatly, 4 words written in black ink, "You are not alone." She stared at it, throat tight. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw movement. Mira, from marketing, mid-50s, always impeccably dressed, known for her no-nonsense attitude, gave her a tiny nod from across the floor. She'd never spoken more than a sentence to Evelyn. But right now, that nod said everything. "I see you." And just like that, a tiny breath of warmth broke through the fog. By 1:30, even the cafeteria noise couldn't drown out the whispers. Evelyn sat at the far end with her bag in her lap, waiting for security to escort her off the premises, a phrase HR used with a little too much casualness. She poked at the sandwich on her tray, whole wheat, dry turkey, no mayo. The irony wasn't lost on her. The girl everyone was suddenly afraid to talk to was the same girl who used to eat alone by choice. Now it wasn't a choice, until someone sat down. She didn't look up at first. Then came a quiet voice. "I was there that night." Evelyn raised her eyes. "Thomas, IT tech, young, quiet, awkward. He looked like he hadn't slept. I logged the access trail," he said, "and I saved a copy to my own drive. Elliot was in your folder. He wiped the log 30 minutes later." Evelyn's pulse quickened. "You saved it?" He nodded. "Why?" Thomas shrugged. "Because it wasn't right. And because Adrian asked me something weird 2 days ago. He asked if I ever wanted to work somewhere that told the truth. I didn't get it then, but I do now." Her voice trembled. "Can I see it?" He pulled out a flash drive. "It's encrypted, but if you want, I can email a copy to the Times, or you can. A choice, a line in the sand." She reached out and took it. Micro-victory, a turning point, a quiet yes to the fight. Around 3:45, her phone buzzed again, a text from a blocked number. "They froze my email, but I know you. You're not going quietly." She smiled, and then her screen lit up again. Another message. This one? Different. "There's a company all hands tomorrow at 9 a.m. Elliot is preparing to clarify everything. You need to speak first. If you don't, he wins, and you lose your name." Evelyn sat very still. In her lap, the bracelet caught the sunlight again, a quiet symbol of a woman who once told her, "Never let them write your ending." She took a breath and started writing her statement. That night, Evelyn sat by her bedroom window, the city humming below, a laptop open, and on the screen, an unsent email. To pressotimesmedia.co. Subject, regarding the Hale & Wesson leak attachment. Access Trail Evidence 001.pdf. Her finger hovered over send, and just before she clicked, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't from Adrian. Careful, Evelyn. Not everyone rooting for you wants you to win. Unknown. Just before 9, the company auditorium buzzed like a beehive in a thunderstorm. Phones were out. Coffee cups trembled slightly in nervous hands. The words CEO, suspension, and internal investigation were murmured with the careful energy of people who wanted to be in the know, but not in the line of fire. Evelyn stood backstage, out of sight. She could hear Elliot's voice through the curtain, warm and oiled like polished wood. We know the last 24 hours have been confusing. I want to personally thank you all for your professionalism and trust as the board works to resolve this difficult moment. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pulled the flash drive from her pocket. The small object felt heavier than it had any right to be. Around her wrist, the thin gold bracelet glinted in the low light, her grandmother's voice echoing in her memory. You may not be able to stop them from doubting you, but you can make them remember you. A hand touched her elbow. Leela, her roommate. Wearing black jeans and a work blazer she hadn't dusted off in months. You sure? Lila whispered. You can still walk out of here and never look back. Evelyn looked toward the stage. I've done that before, she whispered. Didn't fix anything. A creak. The curtain parted slightly. The moderator cleared his throat. Before we proceed, one more employee has asked to speak briefly. Evelyn Marlowe from Finance. Silence. A slow ripple of turning heads, and then the sound of her heels, soft but steady, as Evelyn stepped into the light. She didn't go to the podium. She stood center stage, flash drive in one hand, the other resting gently over her bracelet. I wasn't planning to speak today, she began. I wasn't even sure if I'd still have a badge by this morning. A single awkward laugh escaped from the middle row. She didn't smile. But I figured, if they're going to use my name in closed-door meetings and company-wide whispers, I should at least have the right to say it first. Her voice was calm. Not loud, but clear. I'm Evelyn Marlowe, and I didn't leak anything. Gasps. Not loud, but real. I've been accused softly through silence. I've had people avoid my desk, retract lunch invites, and say things they think I can't hear. I'm used to being invisible. But today, I'm not disappearing for anyone. She lifted the flash drive. This contains metadata and access logs that show who entered the confidential folder and rerouted the email that led to the product leak. It wasn't me. She turned her head and looked directly at Elliot. It was someone with motive, someone with enough access to clean their tracks, but not enough integrity to take the consequences. Now the murmurs were louder. Elliot rose from his seat slowly, hands raised, his laugh charming, a performance. This is highly inappropriate, he said, and illegal. We don't allow employees to conduct digital forensics outside of IT, which is why Thomas from IT signed an affidavit this morning, Evelyn interrupted, holding up another folded sheet. Along with a copy that's already been forwarded to our legal team. Eyes widened. Elliot's charm thinned. You don't know what you're doing. No, Evelyn said, stepping closer to the edge of the stage. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm refusing to let someone else decide my worth. A beat of silence. Then applause, scattered, hesitant at first, then growing. Mira from marketing stood, then Thomas, arms folded, then a wave of others. Some she knew by name, most she didn't. Standing, clapping, louder now. Not just for her, but for every quiet person who'd ever been cornered in a boardroom by people in better suits. Elliot turned on his heel and walked out. And Evelyn Marlowe? She stood taller than she ever had before. By 10:15, she was back in her office. The desk was cleared now, stripped bare. And in the quiet, a single envelope waited where her things used to be. Inside, a handwritten note. Evelyn, well done. Beneath it, a business card. But it wasn't from Hale & Wesson. It was from a private investment firm. Hale and Whitman. Partner, A. Hale. She blinked. He hadn't just taken the fall. He'd stepped aside completely. By 12:34, they had found each other again, over soup and grilled cheese in a quiet corner of Walter's. The cafe where cinnamon rolls came wrapped in napkins, and reputations weren't required for service. Adrian looked different. Tired, yes, but lighter. She set her phone down, face up. "You didn't tell me you resigned." He shrugged, sipping his soup. "Didn't want to pressure you. You deserved your own moment. I don't want to be your charity case." "You never were." "Then what am I?" He paused. "The person I should have been brave for sooner." That silence again, the heavy, honest one, and then a smile tugged at her lips. "You're terrible at grilled cheese, by the way." He looked mock offended. "You haven't even tried it." "I don't need to. You cut the crusts off like a toddler. It's charming. It's worrying." They laughed. The first real one in days, and for a moment, just a moment, the chaos faded. Just soup, bread, and two people with no reason to pretend anymore. As they walked outside, the wind colder now, Evelyn slipped her hands into her coat pocket. She felt the bracelet slide slightly along her wrist. Light, warm, grounded. Adrian reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. But before she could say anything, her phone buzzed again. Confidential from LegalDeptHaleWesson.com. Subject internal request. Statement from Evelyn Marlowe. "We're reopening the case. Elliot Reed has requested a formal hearing. You've been subpoenaed for internal testimony." On Tuesday morning, just after 9, the glass walls of the Hale and Wesson internal hearing room made it feel more like a showroom than a courtroom, sleek, cold, designed to impress or intimidate. Evelyn sat at the long table, a copy of her subpoena in front of her, fingers lightly touching the edge of her bracelet. It had become her armor. Beside her sat a company-assigned advisor, neutral, tight-lipped, and already checking his watch. Across the table, Elliot Reed, flanked by two legal reps, hair perfectly parted, suit immaculate, expression calm, as if none of this was personal. As if he wasn't the one who tried to set her entire life on fire. A soft cough broke the silence. The company's chief legal officer, a tall woman with silver-framed glasses and a sharper gaze than anyone else in the room, cleared her throat. "Let's begin," she said. "This is an internal review hearing regarding the events of the Q3 product leak. Evelyn Marlowe, you've been asked to testify based on new evidence presented during last week's company address." Evelyn nodded once. "I understand." Elliot leaned forward, his tone syrupy smooth. "I'd like to remind everyone that Ms. Marlowe's accusations were presented without legal vetting. No court has found me guilty of anything." "No court has found me guilty either," Evelyn replied, her voice calm. "But that didn't stop you from feeding my name to the board, did it?" A flicker in his expression. Brief, but it was there. The legal officer turned to Evelyn. "Ms. Marlowe, please begin by stating your involvement with the file in question." Evelyn stood. "I built the Q3 strategy deck. I saved it into our shared drive on August 3rd, with view-only access granted to the executive team. At 11:26 a.m. the next day, someone logged in through my credentials, removed the access restrictions, and rerouted the final draft through the public server, masking it as an internal distribution." She held up the signed affidavit. "This was confirmed by Thomas Rivera from our IT department. I've also submitted a digital copy of the server log with corresponding timestamps." "Objection," Elliot said immediately, even though this wasn't a courtroom. The legal officer lifted a brow. "Mr. Reed, you're not in a court of law." "Then I'll say it plainly. This is a coordinated smear. Adrian Hale hands her a promotion she never earned, then resigns in disgrace, conveniently paving the way for her to swoop in as some kind of company heroine." Evelyn's advisor touched her arm, a silent warning not to take the bait, but Evelyn didn't flinch. Instead, She turned to the board members observing behind the glass. I never asked Adrian to take the fall. I never asked for sympathy. But I do ask for something this company claims to value: accountability. Her voice stayed steady, not just from interns and analysts, but from those who wear the best suits and hide behind performance reviews. The legal officer leaned forward. Ms. Marlowe, in your opinion, what was Mr. Reed's motive? Evelyn met Elliot's eyes. He wanted my silence, and when I wouldn't give it, he wanted my job. Another silence. Then, from behind the glass wall, a door opened, and in walked someone no one expected, Adrian Hale, wearing a dark navy suit, no tie, sleeves rolled to the elbow, and eyes sharp. Elliot paled. The legal officer looked up. Mr. Hale, this hearing is closed. I was invited, Adrian said, holding up a card, by the board's internal ethics liaison. As a former executive and involved witness, I have the right to submit testimony. Elliot's voice wobbled. Just a bit. You resigned, and my exit contract gives me exactly one chance to testify in an internal proceeding if the issue involves ethics violations during my term. He sat beside Evelyn, placed a thick brown envelope on the table, and slid it across. Inside is a series of internal messages I discovered the night before my resignation. They were encrypted, stored under a backup email alias, all routed through Mr. Reed's device. The legal officer opened it, brow furrowing. These messages show Mr. Reed discussing scapegoat strategy and leak optics. Names redacted, except one. Evelyn's? Someone behind the glass gasped. Elliot stood. This is a setup. Adrian didn't even blink. You tried to destroy her to protect your stock options. Elliot turned to Evelyn. You think this makes you the hero now? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Around 1:20 that afternoon, under a cloudy sky, Evelyn and Adrian stood near the corner cafe. Neither of them spoke for a while. Finally, Adrian handed her a folded slip of paper. It was her own resignation letter, the one she wrote weeks ago but never submitted. You dropped this in the finance printer room. I found it after you left. She looked down at it, a blur of ink and heartbreak. And I was so close to giving up, she whispered. I know, he said, but you didn't. She smiled. He hesitated, then asked quietly, so what now? She didn't answer immediately. Her hand moved to her bracelet again. I don't know, but for the first time, I'm not scared to find out. They stood like that for a beat longer. Then a raindrop landed on her wrist, followed by another. She looked up. I guess the city wants us to wrap this up. He grinned. Want to come get drenched in overpriced coffee with me? She laughed softly. Only if it comes with a cinnamon roll. Always. Later that night, Evelyn opened her inbox. A new message. Subject, employment opportunity, Whitman and Hale Body. We were impressed with your grace under pressure. Would you consider joining our team as a senior strategy lead? We believe in second chances, and we believe in you. Warmly, Adrian Hale. She stared at the screen, then at her bracelet. And slowly, a smile bloomed. On Thursday morning at 6:42, the sky outside Evelyn's window was still that soft gray blue, the color just before the city wakes fully. It was the quiet hour, when nothing asked anything of her yet. She sat curled on the couch, legs tucked under her, staring at the email again. Subject, employment opportunity, Whitman and Hale. From A. Hale, WhitmanHalePartners.com. She'd read it 5 times already. Not because she didn't understand the offer, but because part of her still couldn't believe it was real. Senior strategy lead. A team of 5, flexible hours, client-facing, but no micromanaging. Creative ownership, Adrian had called it. Not just climbing ladders, building something. A bigger salary, a cleaner desk, a new start. But beneath that, a line she couldn't stop rereading. We believe in second chances, and we believe in you. Lila stumbled into the living room with one eye open and a mug that said, World's okayest roommate. You're staring at that screen like it owes you child support, she mumbled. Evelyn chuckled. It kind of does. Lila yawned, sat beside her, and glanced at the email. Then, without missing a beat, she said, "So? You gonna say yes?" "I don't know," Evelyn replied, voice quieter now. "What if I'm just trading one power imbalance for another?" Lila raised a brow. "You mean Adrian?" She nodded. "You think he's offering you a job because he feels guilty? Or because he feels something else?" Lila didn't laugh. She didn't tease. She just looked at her, really looked. "Do you want the job?" Evelyn blinked. "I think I want the chance to want it on my own terms." "Then go see him," Lila said, sipping her coffee. "But don't go as a girl waiting to be chosen. Go as the woman who already did the choosing." By 11:18 that morning, Evelyn was at the Whitman and Hale office in Midtown. The building was everything Hale and Wesson wasn't. Warm light, open spaces, real plant, not just expensive decor. It felt human. A young receptionist greeted her with a smile that didn't feel rehearsed. "You must be Evelyn. He's expecting you, just down the hall, second door on the left." She walked slowly. The second door was open, and there he was. Adrian Hale, in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled, collar open, glasses perched on the edge of his nose, reviewing something on a tablet with the focus of a man used to solving problems without raising his voice. When he saw her, he smiled, not the CEO smile, not the public one, the soft one. "You came." She stood at the doorway for a moment longer. Still deciding, he rose. "Would coffee help? We've upgraded. No more burnt office sludge." She stepped inside. "I brought my own today. It's part of my dignity clause," he chuckled. "Reasonable." They sat opposite each other. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full. After a moment, he slid a simple folder across the table. "No pressure, no expiration date. Read it when you're ready." She didn't open it yet. Instead, she looked at him. Really looked. "You really meant it?" she asked. "This isn't charity or penance." Adrian leaned back in his chair. "Evelyn, I didn't build this company just to make money. I built it to hire the kind of people who were always overlooked in places like Wesson. People like you." A beat passed. "I didn't fall for you because you're beautiful, though you are," he added gently. "I fell because you kept your dignity when no one else gave you room to breathe. I offered you this job because you're the smartest strategist I've met in years." She swallowed hard. "And if I say no?" He nodded. "Then I'll keep rooting for you from a distance, and I'll probably spend the next year regretting it." That made her laugh, finally. "Okay," she said softly. "Let me ask you something." "Anything," she leaned forward. "If we work together again, are we colleagues? Friends? Or something else?" He hesitated. Not because he didn't know the answer, but because he wanted to say it right. "We start as partners," he said. "We build trust from the ground up. No games, no secrets." "And after that?" He met her gaze with a look that was firm, open, and just vulnerable enough to make her heart ache. "After that, I'd like to earn the right to be more." That afternoon, around 1, Evelyn sat in a small cafe in Lower West Dallow, across from someone she hadn't seen in months, her mother. They shared a slice of apple pie and 2 cups of tea, and for the first 20 minutes spoke only about weather and parking. Then her mother, a woman with a soft voice and eyes that had seen too much loss, reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. "Your father would be proud," she whispered. Evelyn blinked fast. "He always wanted me to be safe. I'm not sure this is that." Her mother smiled faintly. "He wanted you to be free. And you look like yourself again." That nearly broke her. They finished the pie quietly, the weight between them shifting from years of quiet disappointment to something gentler, like trust rediscovered. That evening, back home, Evelyn finally opened the folder Adrian had given her. Inside, a signed offer letter. A 1-page project outline. A personal handwritten note. "If you accept, your first assignment is simple. Choose the clients we help, build the rules, and teach me how to lead with my heart the way you do." She smiled, then pulled out a pen. But before she could sign, her phone buzzed. New message. "Unknown number, think carefully, Evelyn. Power doesn't change people. It reveals them. No name, no context. But something about it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a warning." On Monday morning, just after 8, the elevator rose in silence, broken only by the hum of soft jazz playing through hidden speakers. Evelyn stood alone, her reflection clear in the mirror-polished doors. Hair softly curled, navy blouse tucked perfectly into charcoal slacks, her grandmother's gold bracelet resting lightly on her wrist. Her first day, she had signed the contract. And more than that, she had made a decision. This time, no shrinking, no waiting to be invited into the room. She would be the room. The elevator chimed at the top floor. She stepped out into a space flooded with natural light, the skyline visible from nearly every corner. A woman with short silver hair greeted her at the reception desk. "Welcome, Ms. Marlowe," she said kindly. "Mr. Hale is in a client meeting, but he asked me to escort you to your new office." Office, not desk, not cubicle, office. Evelyn followed her past open-concept lounges, smart glass walls, and design boards pinned with real ideas, not empty jargon. They stopped at a glass door with her name already printed on the frosted panel. Evelyn Marlowe, strategy lead inside. A cozy, elegant space. Light oak desk, bookshelves, a fresh notepad with her name embossed at the top, and in the center of the desk, a small white box tied with navy ribbon. She opened it. Inside, a single cinnamon roll, still warm. Beneath it, a handwritten note. "First day, same tradition. You've earned more than applause. You've earned trust. A." She smiled and closed the box, heart fluttering, until she noticed something else. An envelope tucked under the roll. No note this time, just her name, handwritten in block letters. She opened it carefully. Inside, a folded piece of paper, typed, anonymous. "He gave you a desk, a title, but not the truth. There's a room on the 17th floor, unlisted, badge access only. If you want to know what he's hiding, go there before the end of the day. No signature, no explanation, just a keycard." Blank. By 1:45 that afternoon, she was back on the 17th floor of Whitman and Hale. She shouldn't have come. She knew that. And yet, there she stood, in a corridor with no windows, no labels, no sign of life. Just one door at the end, matte black, no handle. Her fingers hesitated over the card. Evelyn wasn't naive. She didn't believe in fairy tales. She knew success often came wrapped in shadows, but Adrian had promised transparency, and someone clearly thought otherwise. She slid the card. The door clicked, opened, and what she saw wasn't a hidden scandal. It was a war room. Screens lined the walls, showing real-time project analytics. A massive table at the center held blueprints, client strategies, marked up legal memos, and on the far side, pinned to a corkboard, were printed photos of her in the boardroom at Hale & Wesson, speaking at the company hearing, smiling beside her mother outside the cafe. Her breath caught. A soft sound made her turn. A man stood in the corner, mid-40s. Sharp-suited, hands behind his back. "Ms. Marlowe," he said with a nod, "you found the room." "Who are you?" "My name's Marcus Crane, partner, investor, and co-founder technically, though Adrian tends to take the spotlight." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "You've been watching me." "We've been evaluating you," he said. "It's what we do before offering leadership positions, standard due diligence." "Does standard due diligence involve photographing my mother?" "No," he said flatly. "That part wasn't mine." A pause. Then whose was it? He crossed the room, removed a document from the table, and handed it to her. Internal strategy, memo subject, Project Ember asset. Target, Evelyn Marlowe, objective. Observe, vet, position for strategic appointment. She scanned the lines, her name repeated over and over. Test loyalty, track public speaking, evaluate risk of emotional influence. It read like a game, like she wasn't a person or just a strategic variable. Her stomach twisted. So this whole offer? Marcus shook his head. Not a trick, just not the full story. You were on our radar long before Adrian stepped down. Why? Because people like you don't stay invisible for long. Evelyn folded the paper carefully. Does he know I've seen this? Not yet. Will he care? Marcus gave her a long look. That depends, do you? At 4:12, she stepped into Adrian's office. He was alone. He looked up, surprised, but only for a moment. Then his expression shifted. Not guilty, not defensive, just braced. You saw it. She closed the door behind her. You knew? I knew Marcus would vet you. I didn't know they'd keep a file that read like a surveillance op. You let them track my mother. Adrian, his jaw tightened. I told them to stop. The moment I found out, I pulled the file. They went around me. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to protect you. I know that sounds paternalistic. And it was. I made the wrong call. Her voice broke. From what? He stood, walked toward her slowly. Walked. From the truth that this world, the one I built, doesn't always play clean. She looked up at him. And what if I'd found out from someone else? What if I never found out? He was silent. Finally, she stepped back. I don't want to be your project, Adrian. I don't want to be someone you save. You're not? Then tell me what I am. He looked at her like she was sunlight on water. Beautiful, sharp, and just out of reach. You're the one thing I didn't plan for, he said quietly, and the one thing I don't want to lose. That night, Evelyn sat on her bed, the file from the secret room open beside her. She turned to the last page. A single quote was printed there. She will either rebuild us or burn us to the ground. MC. She stared at the sentence, then at the empty line below it, left blank, like a space waiting for her signature. Her phone buzzed. Are you still with him, or are you finally ready to lead on your own? Unknown. On Wednesday evening, just before 7, Evelyn found herself at the Golden Quill Bistro in Midtown. She wasn't sure what made her accept the dinner invitation. Maybe it was the handwritten note Adrian had left on her desk. Just dinner, no business, no pretending. Maybe it was the voice in her head that whispered, if you don't ask now, you'll always wonder what he would have said. Or maybe it was exhaustion. Because trust wasn't something you gave after betrayal, it was something you tested, one moment at a time. And tonight was a test. She stepped through the restaurant's arched doorway, greeted by the soft clinking of silverware and a low jazz trio in the corner. Candlelight flickered across the stone walls. It was the kind of place you brought someone when you didn't want them to feel rushed. Adrian stood as she approached the table. He wore no tie, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar, and his expression was unreadable. Thanks for coming, he said. I almost didn't. I would have deserved that. They sat in silence for a few moments. A waiter came, took their orders, wine for him, sparkling water for her, and disappeared with a nod. Evelyn folded her napkin slowly. You could have told me about Marcus, about the file, about Project Ember. I should have, he said. No excuses. She raised an eyebrow. That's it? No, he said softly. There's more, but I wanted to start with the part most men skip, admitting they were wrong. That caught her slightly off guard. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. When I left Hale & Wesson, I told myself I was walking away from the old world, the politics, the maneuvering, but Marcus, he built this place on precision. He thinks people are pieces, data, calculations. And you let him treat me that way. Yes, he said, because I didn't think he'd go that far, because I thought I could fix it quietly, and because part of me thought maybe it wasn't so wrong to want to make sure you were real. She looked down at the tablecloth. "And what did you find out, Adrian? Am I real enough for you?" He didn't hesitate. "You're more than I ever deserved to sit across from." Her throat tightened. He went on. "The file wasn't about whether you were qualified. That was never in question. It was about whether you'd stay or leave, whether you'd break or bend, whether you could lead without needing to destroy." She looked up. "And your verdict?" His voice lowered. "I think you scare them, and I think that's good." The first course arrived. Soup and warm bread, a soft hum of comfort amid all the cold truths. They ate quietly for a few moments, and then Adrian asked the question Evelyn had expected all evening. "What are you going to do?" "I haven't decided," she said. "Part of me wants to walk away, start something of my own, something clean." "And the other part?" She met his eyes. "Wants to stay, take the offer, and rewrite the rules from the inside." He smiled, not with pride, but with relief. "That second part sounds like the woman who stood up in front of 100 people and turned their assumptions into ash." She tilted her head. "But can I trust the person offering the job?" His answer came without pause. "No, not yet. But I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me earn it." Just after 8. Outside the bistro, rain was falling, soft and misty like a secret. They stood under the awning, neither making the first move to say goodbye. "I can't promise I'll stay, Adrian," she said. "Not if I keep finding out things through locked doors and anonymous notes." "Then I'll leave them open," he said. Her brow arched. "All of them?" "Even the ones I'm scared to look through." She almost laughed, not at him, but at the sincerity behind that simple confession. He held out his hand. "Let me drive you home." She hesitated, then took it. By 9:03 they had reached her apartment in West Dallow. The drive had been quiet, but the kind of quiet that meant everything had been said. And not a single word had been wasted. When they pulled up, Adrian turned off the engine but didn't move. "I meant what I said in that file," he said suddenly. She turned. "Which part?" "The part that said you'd either rebuild us or burn us to the ground." She smiled. "You wrote that?" He nodded. "And for what it's worth, I hope you do both, in the right order." She reached for the door handle, then paused. "Adrian?" He looked at her. "I don't want to be your exception. I want to be your equal." He exhaled like someone who'd been holding his breath all day. "You already are." Later that night, Evelyn opened her laptop. The screen glowed softly in the dark. 2 emails sat in her inbox. From Marcus Crane. Subject, Project Ember. Status update. "Evelyn, if you plan to move forward, we need an answer by end of week. Otherwise, we'll offer the lead role to someone else." From unknown subject. "She's still watching." "You think the test is over?" "It's just beginning. Marcus isn't the problem. He's just the front. Below it, an attached photo, black and white, grainy. Evelyn and her mother sitting at the cafe. Taken that afternoon. Her blood ran cold. On Thursday morning at 7:12, Evelyn sat in her apartment, staring at the photo glowing on her screen. It was unmistakably recent. She was laughing, a rare kind of open laugh, holding a paper cup in one hand and reaching to tuck a strand of her mother's hair behind her ear. The angle was slightly elevated, like it had been taken from a rooftop. Deliberate, watching. She closed the laptop and sat very still. Not afraid. Not yet. Her grandmother's bracelet slid slightly down her wrist as she stood and walked to the window. The city was already waking up, but Evelyn felt something deeper. Like the air had changed. Like someone, somewhere, wanted her to feel small again. She texted Lila, "Can you check on my mom today?" Just in case. Seconds later, "Always. What's going on? I'll explain later. Stay close." Evelyn dressed carefully that morning. Navy blazer, slacks, hair tied back, understated gold earrings, the kind of look that said, "I am not intimidated," even if part of her was, because whoever sent that photo knew exactly what they were doing. And now it was her move. By 9:20, she was already on the executive floor at Whitman and Hale, bypassing her office and heading straight for the internal elevator, the one only partners and founding execs used. The receptionist blinked. "Ms. Marlowe." "I have a meeting," Evelyn said. "They're expecting me." The elevator doors closed before anyone could stop her. Floor 18, Access, Marcus Crane's private suite. She'd never been there. She hadn't even known it existed until last night. But this was no longer about protocol. It was about who was watching her mother from a rooftop. By 9:26, she was standing in Marcus Crane's office. The room was all glass and steel. Sleek, cold, not a single paper out of place. Marcus sat behind the desk, sipping espresso. He didn't look surprised to see her. "Ms. Marlowe," he said calmly, "to what do I owe this unannounced visit?" She walked straight to the desk and set her phone down. The photo was still on the screen. He glanced at it, then leaned back slowly. "I assume this is your way of asking if I'm the one who sent it, did you?" "No." Her eyes didn't blink. "But you know who did." Marcus exhaled. "Evelyn, you're very bright, but you're walking into a world where not everyone plays chess. Some of us play bridge, quiet, deadly, and with partners you never see until the last card falls. You're threatening my family. I'm telling you that this position, this rise you're climbing, comes with shadows. We vet more than strategy. We vet loyalty, legacy, weak points." She didn't flinch. "Then vet this. You so much as send another photo near my mother, and I won't go to HR. I won't go to Adrian. I'll go public. You'll have reporters outside your townhouse before your next glass of imported wine." A flicker of something in his expression. Not fear, but respect. "You think you can scare me?" he asked. "No," she said, "but I think I can inconvenience you. And men like you hate that more." They locked eyes. Then Marcus stood. Slowly, walked to a small locked drawer and pulled out a plain manila folder. He placed it on the desk. "This is the full file. Everything we gathered on you, including the photos you didn't see." Evelyn's jaw tightened. "And why give it to me now?" "Because I don't like being threatened either," he said simply. "But I also don't underestimate people who don't blink. When I push," he tapped the folder. "Take it. You want power? This is what it costs. Not just strategy, control over your image, over your past, over how far you're willing to go to keep what you've built." She didn't touch the folder. "I'm not taking this because I'm afraid," she said. "I know," he replied. "You're taking it because you've decided to stop being surprised." At 11:43, she found Adrian on the rooftop garden, where he often went to clear his head. Today he was leaning against the railing, wind tousling his hair, coffee in hand. When he saw her, he smiled, until he saw the expression on her face. "What happened?" Evelyn didn't answer right away. She handed him the manila folder. He flipped it open, his brow furrowed. Then his jaw clenched. "Who gave you this?" "Marcus." Adrian looked at her. "And you went to him alone?" "I needed to," he nodded, processing. "You're not scared?" "No," she said softly. "But I'm done being polite." He looked down at the folder again. "I didn't know about half of this, I swear it." "I believe you, but Adrian..." She took a step closer. "If you want me on your team, really on your team, I need more than desk titles and cinnamon rolls. I need truth, even when it's ugly." He nodded slowly. "You'll have it. From now on, no shadows." A long pause. Then she said something that surprised them both. "I'm staying." His eyes lifted. "You're sure?" "Yes," she said. "But I'm not here to adapt. I'm here to change things, from the inside." He smiled faintly. "I'd be worried if you weren't." They stood there a moment longer. The wind lifting strands of her hair, the weight of the last 24 hours pressing behind her eyes. Then, softly, he asked, "Would it be okay if I walked you home tonight?" She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but just know, I walk fast when I'm angry. He grinned. Then I'd better keep up. That evening, Evelyn returned to her apartment to find a small white envelope slipped under the door. No name, no logo. Inside, a single sentence typed on thick paper. We're not watching you anymore, Ms. Marlowe. We're watching who you protect. And below it, a photo of Adrian, alone, standing outside her building. Standing outside. From just an hour ago, this time, it wasn't her mother in their sights. It was Adrian. Early Friday morning at 6:02, the envelope sat on her coffee table like a snake waiting to strike. She hadn't slept. Not really. Not since finding the photo of Adrian, alone, standing outside her building, clearly taken without his knowledge. Clearly sent as a warning. We're not watching you anymore, Ms. Marlowe. We're watching who you protect. Evelyn sat with her knees tucked to her chest, cradling a mug of cooling coffee in her hands. She should have been panicked or furious, but instead she felt quiet. There was a moment when fear turns into something sharper, something useful. Resolve. Because whoever sent that message wanted her to play defense. But Evelyn Marlowe had never been built to cower. By 9:14, she was back on the 17th floor of Whitman and Hale, and this time she walked into Marcus Crane's office without knocking. She wasn't wearing fear anymore. She wore fire. He looked up from a spreadsheet. Ms. Marlowe, I need to know if this is you, she said, tossing the photo onto his desk. His brow furrowed. He picked it up, examined it, didn't flinch, didn't blink, just studied it like it was a financial report. I assume this was delivered to your apartment. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Marcus set the photo down and leaned back. Not me, but not entirely outside my reach. Evelyn narrowed her eyes. Meaning? He exhaled. There are private interests that fund certain tiers of this firm, interests who value risk containment. And yes, sometimes they act without consulting me. They've been watching you since Hale and Wesson. They weren't thrilled you survived that fire. Some of our biggest backers, the ones Marcus half-jokingly calls the Invisible Council, have enough autonomy to act outside formal channels. She folded her arms. And Adrian? His resignation? Unexpected. His continued presence in your life? Inconvenient? To them, not to me. She stared. You're talking about investors? He nodded. And power brokers, men and women who believe emotion is a liability. They want strategy, not softness. And they see your connection to Adrian as leverage. Her stomach turned. But her voice didn't shake. You're telling me they'll go after him just because he cares about me? Marcus didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. At 11:31, Evelyn stepped into the Midtown Archive Cafe. The bell chimed softly above her. The place was quiet, wood-paneled, filled with the faint scent of espresso and old books. Adrian was already there, sitting at a window seat, flipping through a folder. He looked up as she approached. His face softened. You didn't call, he said gently. I was worried. She sat across from him, pulled the envelope from her coat, slid it across the table. He opened it, saw the photo, and froze. He began. I know, she said. They're escalating. He shook his head slowly, jaw clenched. They're watching me now? They're using you to pressure me. He looked up. And what do they want you to do? Distance myself, step down, disappear. Are you going to? No. His eyes searched hers. Then they'll keep coming. I know. Adrian leaned back, running a hand through his hair. I thought I could protect you by building a softer version of the old world, but I brought wolves in with me. Evelyn reached across the table and gently touched his hand. Adrian, I don't need you to protect me. I need you to stand beside me. He turned his palm up, threading his fingers through hers. Then let's burn it all down, he said. She smiled faintly. Not yet. First, we outsmart them. At 2:58 that afternoon, Evelyn called a meeting in the strategy wing of Whitman and Hale, not an invitation, a directive. Oh. In the room, Mira from marketing, Thomas from IT, Jordan from legal, a few others who had helped her back at Hale and Wesson, the quiet allies, the ones who believed in integrity over optics. She closed the glass door behind her and turned to the group. "I have something to ask," she said, "and it comes with risk." They waited. "This firm has made it clear that my relationships are considered a liability. They've sent messages, photos, veiled threats, the old playbook, but I'm not playing by it anymore." She paused, looked each of them in the eye. "I need to build something inside this building that they can't control, a division. Quiet, protected, strategic, but independent, values forward, transparent, where talent doesn't come second to bloodlines." Mira raised an eyebrow. "And what will you call it?" Evelyn's voice was steady. "The Marlowe Division." A beat of silence. Then Thomas grinned. "I'm in." Mira nodded. "Me too." One by one, they said yes, not loudly, but firmly. And just like that, a new structure began to take shape. Not a rebellion, a reformation. Later that night, Evelyn received another envelope, plain white, no return address. Inside, a single page from a confidential investor report, her name circled 3 times in red. And a line scribbled across the margin. "You want the crown, Evelyn? Then wear it, and learn what it costs." Beneath it, a final note, next target, Hale. Her hands tightened around the page, and this time, her fear turned into fuel. On Monday morning at 7:46, the city outside Evelyn's office pulsed with quiet urgency, horns, footsteps, and the restless hum of ambition. But inside, she sat completely still. The investor document lay open on her desk, her name circled 3 times. The words, "next target." Hale etched in red like blood that hadn't dried. They weren't just trying to control her anymore. They were sending a message. "If you won't bend, we'll break the ones who stand with you." She should have been scared. Instead, she felt sharp, focused. They had tried everything. Whisper campaigns, reputation sabotage, surveillance, veiled threats. Now they were coming for Adrian. So be it, she thought. Let's finish this. By 9:02, the top-floor conference room was already full, sleek, silent, and humming with power. 10 seats, 9 filled. The final one was Evelyn's. She walked in with her head high, folder in hand. Her bracelet, her grandmother's, caught the morning light. Marcus Crane sat at the head, calm, polished, unbothered. "Ms. Marlowe," he said without warmth, "we weren't expecting you." "Which is odd," she replied, "considering I called this meeting." She set the folder down, opened it, pulled out printouts, charts, and one very specific security log. "This," she said, "is evidence of private surveillance tactics employed by outside investors targeting internal staff, including me, including Mr. Hale." One of the partners, an older woman named Violette, leaned forward. "How did you obtain these?" "They were slipped to me," Evelyn replied, and then confirmed by Thomas Rivera from our security protocols team, with timestamps. She held up a photo, Adrian standing outside her apartment, time-stamped, location tagged. This was taken without his knowledge and followed by a written threat. Gasps, murmurs. Evelyn's voice didn't waver. "I've spent months navigating the firm's unspoken rules. I was quiet when they tested me. I was polite when they investigated me. But what I won't do, what I can't do, is stay silent when they target people I care about." Her eyes scanned the room. "So I'm offering you a choice." Marcus raised a brow. "A choice?" "Yes," she said. "Rein in the investors. Disband Project Ember. End all shadow surveillance. Or—" She slid the final document across the table, a resignation letter already signed. "I walk, publicly, And I bring every unethical tactic I've been handed straight to the press. A full beat of silence. Marcus stared at the document. You wouldn't dare. Evelyn met his gaze. I dare every day. That's the difference between you and me. At 10:37, she found Adrian on the rooftop garden again. Of course she did. He looked up the moment he saw her, reading her expression like a man who had learned to hear words before they were spoken. It's done, she said, sitting beside him. His shoulders relaxed just slightly. You made them choose. They didn't like it, she replied, but they understood the math. Bad press costs more than my salary. He chuckled. So, do we get to breathe now? For 5 minutes, she said, and then we build something better. Adrian reached into his jacket and pulled out a velvet box. Evelyn blinked. Is that? No, he said quickly. Not that? Not yet. He opened it. Inside sat a key. To my apartment, he said softly, in case you ever want to leave the skyline behind and come home to someone who's already chosen you. No files, no conditions, just us. She looked at the key, then at him, and suddenly her eyes filled. Why now? Because I've seen you fight everything, even me, to protect your dignity, and I don't want to be another person you have to defend yourself from. She took the key. I'm not moving in. I know. But I'm keeping it, he smiled. That's all I hoped for. Later that day, back in her office, a new nameplate had been installed. Evelyn Marlowe, Executive Director, the Marlowe Division. Her rise might have looked fast from the outside, but to the board, she was the only person capable of turning a crisis into credibility. A small team gathered around a whiteboard. Mira, Thomas, Jordan, and 2 new hires Evelyn had handpicked. Not for pedigree, but for grit. They were mapping out a client strategy that didn't hide behind jargon, one that focused on transparency, ethical growth, and diversity, not as a quota, but as a strategy. Evelyn stepped back, watching them collaborate. This was what she had fought for. A seat at the table, and a say in how the table was built. 1 month later, on a quiet Saturday evening in West Dallow, at exactly 6:18, everything felt softer. Evelyn sat across from her mother at the same cafe. A warm breeze blew through the trees lining the street. Her mom looked at her over a shared cinnamon roll. You look different, Evelyn smiled. I feel different. Not harder, her mom added, just brighter, like you came through something. I did. Her mother reached across the table, brushed her fingers lightly over Evelyn's bracelet. You wore this even when it got hard, especially when it got hard. They sat in companionable silence for a while. Then her mom leaned in. Is Adrian part of the brightness? Evelyn hesitated, then smiled. He's not the light, but he doesn't block it. That evening, as the sky dimmed and the city exhaled, Evelyn walked home alone. The streets of West Dallow felt softer now, familiar, hers. Evelyn had her suspicions about the envelopes, someone who had been watching her rise and fall. Not to harm her, but to see how far she would go before she bent. As she turned the corner, a small envelope fluttered out from under her apartment door. She bent to pick it up. This time, no threats, no photos. Just a card, cream-colored, handwritten. You passed the test, Ms. Marlowe. There was never a crown. There. Only the mirror. And you didn't look away. Inside was a single word, respect. Evelyn held the card for a long moment. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Adrian stood there, hands in his pockets, breath visible in the cool night air, not expecting anything, not demanding anything. Just there. For once, no walls stood between them. Evelyn stepped toward him, slowly, deliberately, and she kissed him, not rushed, not hesitant, but with the quiet certainty of someone who had fought for her place in the world, and was now choosing who she wanted beside her in it. His hands moved gently to her waist. She rested her palms against his chest, The city hummed around them, but the moment belonged only to the two of them. There was no need for declarations. The kiss said everything. They weren't just together. They had chosen each other. The end. Evelyn stood up, fought back, and found love without losing herself. Would you have done the same or walked away before it got personal? Rate this story from 0 to 10 and share your favorite moment in the comments. Thank you for being part of Evelyn's journey, dignity, justice, and love on her own terms. Subscribe for more powerful stories like this, and don't forget to like it. See you in the next story.